Are you preparing for the CompTIA A Plus Core 2 certification and want to make sure you pass on your first try? You are in the right place. In this video, we will go through exam-style practice questions with clear explanations that will help you understand the concepts behind every answer, not just memorizing them. So, whether you are brushing up for the exam day or testing your knowledge, stay tuned till the end. Grab your notes, stay focused, and let's dive right into the question number one. Question number one of your clients has just issued some laptops to some of their employees. Your job is to ensure that data is secure if one of these devices is lost or stolen. Which of the following would best allow you to achieve this? And the options are option A, remote wipe, option B, BitLocker, option C, Windows password, and option D, anti-malware. And the correct option is, I will reveal the option after the countdown. And the correct option is the BitLocker. So the BitLocker is a built-in Windows feature which lets you encrypt the whole drive or a volume. So remote wipe is also an option, but it is still risky because before remote wiping your device, the data may already have been compromised. And another thing is that in order to remotely wipe your device, you need the connectivity or network connectivity to that device. So the best option is BitLocker. These are also not suitable option for confidentiality and security of data when the device is lost or stolen. So explanation is that the BitLocker provides full disk encryption, ensuring that if a laptop is lost or stolen, the data on its drive cannot be accessed without the proper decryption. The incorrect option, including the remote wipe, is useful for mobile devices but requires the device to be connected to the network. Similarly, Windows password protects user access, but data can still be accessed if the drive here means the hard drive is removed or stolen. Anti-malware basically protects against malicious software but not physical data theft. So therefore, BitLocker is the best option for securing data on lost or stolen laptops as well as other mobile devices such as mobile and question number two, which of the following tools will allow you to find out how much memory an application is using? So memory here we are talking about RAM. How do we know that how much RAM is being used by an application? And the options are option A, msconfig, option B, system information, option C, task manager, and option D, check disk. And the correct option is, think about the correct option, and it is option C, task manager. So using the Windows task manager, you can see that how much RAM as well as other resources such as CPU, disk, and network bandwidth is being used by each application. So the task manager in Windows display real-time information about running applications system resources. So the resources include CPU, memory, disk, and network usage. The incorrect options are msconfig is used to configure startup programs and boot options. So this option is used to control which application and program should start when you start or boot up your operating system. System information displays the hardware and system details but not live memory usage. And chess disk is used to check the file system and the disk for errors which is unrelated to the memory monitoring. Question number three, a user cannot access company resources on their new workstation that they could access on their prior workstation. Which of the following actions should a technician take to fix this? issue. And the options are option A, provide the user with the administrator account. Option B, disable the firewall on the workstation. Option C, join the workstation to the company's domain. And option D, enable facial recognition on the workstation. So the issue here is that a user cannot access or cannot log into a new device while at the same account was able to log into their prayer workstation. So what could be the issue? And the correct option is, so here we are talking about that issue is not with the account but with the workstation. Since the new workstation has not joined the company's domain, it means that the account are basically domain account. So the domain account or the domain user are basically can be used when the device that you want to log in has joined the domain. So each time there is a new device, you first need to make that device join the domain, and then you can use the domain user and domain account to log in to the system using that device. Explanation is, so if a user cannot access company resources like shared drives, printers, or internal applications that they previously could, it's likely because the new workstation is not part of the company's Active Directory domain. Joining the workstation to the domain ensures the user's credential and permissions are recognized across the network, restoring access to those resources. Incorrect option A is incorrect because providing an admin account violates the security policy. So, for day-to-day tasks and for ordinary user, we do not use the admin account. Admin account is rarely used for specific tasks that require elevated privileges such as admin account. Option B is also incorrect. So disabling the firewall won't fix authentication or domain access issues. And option D is irrelevant. Facial recognition does not affect resource access. Question number 4, an IT support specialist is preparing to migrate a critical application. This migration will impact the operations during the maintenance window. Which of the following would help the specialist determine the potential impact to the business as part of the change management process? The options are option A, end user acceptance, option B, risk assessment, option C, manager approval, and option D, peer review. And the correct option is risk assessment. So using the risk assessment methodology, we can determine the potential impact to the business of any change inside business processes, such as in this case migrating a critical application. So explanation is, a risk assessment helps identify and evaluate potential impact of a change such as downtime, data loss, or service disruption on business operations. It's a key part of the change management process to ensure that all risks are understood and mitigated before proceeding with the migration. The incorrect option, option A, end user acceptance, happens after implementation. Manager approval is required but does not analyze impact, and peer review checks technical accuracy, not business impact. Question number 5. Which of the following is a type of malware designed to record a user's credential and other entries? And the options are option A, keylogger, option B, Trojan, option C, ransomware, and option D, rootkit. And the correct option is Option A, keylogger. So we are talking about recording a user's credential and other entries. So as the name indicates, keylogger means that it logs the key strokes. So keylogger basically logs each keystroke that is pressed on the keyboard. So this type of malware is designed to record and log the user credential as well as other information, for example, credit card number and other data. Explanation is, so a keylogger is a type of malware that secretly records a user's keystrokes, capturing sensitive information such as username, password, and credit card numbers. Incorrect option, option B, Trojan disguises itself as legitimate software but can deliver other malware. And ransomware encrypts files and demands payment for decryption. It does not record keystrokes. While option D, rootkit hides malicious activity and provides attacker persistent access but does not record keystrokes, which is done by the keylogger. Question number 6. A team member provides a link to an online slide deck presentation so other team members can add to the presentation. The link does not work for any of other team members. Which of the following should the team check first? The options are option A, version history, option B, web browser compatibility, option C, viewing and sharing permission, and option D, license management. And the correct option is option C, viewing and sharing permission. It means that the other users currently do not have the viewing and sharing permission. So if team members cannot access a shared presentation link, the most common cause is incorrect sharing or permission setting. The file owner must ensure the document is shared with the correct user or that link access is set to anyone with the link or the appropriate group. Incorrect option, option A, version history only tracks changes, not access. Option B, web browser compatibility is rarely the issue for cloud slides. And option D, license management affects software access, not specific file permission. Question number 7. A user is purposely deleting files and folders containing company information. Which of the following describes this attack? And the options are option A, whaling, option B, on-path attack. So the on-path attack was previously known as man-in-the-middle attack or MITM, option C, insider threat, and option D, spoofing. And the correct option is we are talking about a user inside the company that is purposely deleting files and folder, and this type of user is known as the attack carried out by such user is known as insider threat because user has the access to the company files and folders and is inside the company. So the explanation is that an insider threat occurs when someone within the organization, such as an employee, contractor, or partner, intentionally misuse their access to harm the company. In this case, the user deleting company data on purpose is a clear example of an insider threat. The incorrect option, option A, whaling targets executives with phishing attacks. And B, on-path attack, that is man-in-the-middle attack, basically intercepts communication on the network. Option D, spoofing involves pretending to be someone or something else to gain access. So any user that has access to a company resources and maliciously deletes or corrupts these resources is known as insider threat. Question number 8. A technician is reviewing malicious activity on a machine. The timestamp information shows this activity takes place overnight. Which of the following should the technician prevent further offenses? And the options are option A, disable the guest accounts. Option B, restrict login times. Option C, apply an account expiration date. And option D, enable screensaver locks. And the correct option is, so we are talking about an activity that takes place overnight when the actual users are not using the system. So this type of activity can be avoided by restricting login times to the office work hours. Let's suppose if the office hours are from 9 to 5, so the login time can be restricted to this time frame so that any user that maliciously want to do the malicious activity outside these hours is not able to log in. Explanation is, if a malicious activity is occurring overnight, restricting login times ensures that user accounts can only be used during approved working hours. This helps prevent unauthorized or automated access outside of normal business operations. Incorrect options. Option A, disable guest accounts is good security practice but does not address the timing issue. Option C, apply an account expiration date is for temporary users, not ongoing time-based control. And option D, enable screensaver locks protects active sessions, not after our logins. Question number 9. Which of the following best describes what happens when an operating system reaches EOL dead? EOL is end of life dead, such as we can say that Windows XP and I think even Windows 7, they are EOL because they have reached their end of life and are no longer supported by Microsoft. And the options are option A, users are unable to log in. Option B, users cannot purchase the OS. Option C, security updates are not released. And option D, drivers must be installed. And the correct option is, so the critical thing that happens after EOL, that's the security updates are no longer released. The other may also be true since operating system is no longer provided by the vendor. Let's suppose user may also not be able to purchase this Windows, but the critical and most important thing is that security updates are no longer provided from the vendor. So such operating system is then a security risk. So explanation is, when an operating system reaches its end of life date, the vendor stops providing security patches, bug fixes, and updates. This leaves the system vulnerable to new threats and exploits. The incorrect options is that user can still log on to these operating system if they are in use. Option B, purchasing may already have ended before EOL. And option D, new drivers are not required due to end of life status of the operating system. Question number 10. A technician is replacing a laptop's motherboard that is covered by a warranty. The technician must return the faulty motherboard to the manufacturer as part of the warranty agreement. Which of the following should the technician do after removing the old motherboard and installing the new one? And the options are option A, connect an ESD wrist strap to a grounded connection point. Option B, remove the battery and AC adapter from the laptop. Option C, use compressed air to clean out any loose debris or dirt from inside the laptop. And option D, place the old component in an anti-static bag for shipping. And the correct option is option D. Place the old component in an anti-static bag for shipping. And the explanation is, so when returning a faulty motherboard under warranty, technician must package it properly in an anti-static bag to prevent electrostatic discharge damage during shipping. This ensures the manufacturer receives it in acceptable condition. The incorrect option, option A, ESD straps are used during handling, not after replacement. Option B, removing the battery is a safety step before disassembly, not after installation. And option C, cleaning is good maintenance but not required for warranty return. Question number 11. An IT help desk project that was to be completed in days after work hours for another department is now 2 days overdue. The department leader is upset and wants to know when the project will be completed. Which of the following is the best approach in this scenario? And the options are option A, escalate the management team without talking to the department leader. Option B, ask for an extension to the deadline. Option C, apologize for the delay and offer a viable solution. And option D, request the department leader provide the request in writing. And the correct option is option C, apologize for the delay and offer a viable solution. And the explanation is, so the best approach is to communicate professionally and take responsibility by apologizing for the delay, then providing a realistic plan or timeline to complete the project. This maintains trust and demonstrates accountability. The incorrect options are option A, escalating immediately may worsen communication. Option B, asking for an extension without explanation shows poor planning. And option D, requesting written communication ignores the immediate concern. Question number 12. An employee is receiving emails and calls from people in their contact list about phishing emails from the employee. The employee recently installed a third party email client with access to the device's contacts. Which of the following should the employee do to resolve the issue immediately? And the options are option A, check the employee's outgoing mailbox. Option B, uninstall the unapproved application. Option C, delete the contact list from the device. And option D, add the messages to junk mail. And the correct option is option B, uninstall the approved application. And the explanation is, so since the issue started right after installing a third-party email client that had access to contacts, the application is likely compromised or malicious and is sending phishing emails to those contacts. The immediate action is to uninstall the unapproved application to stop further data misuse. The incorrect options are option A, checking the outgoing mailbox won't stop the activity. Option C, deleting contacts removes data but not the source of the problem. And option D, marking messages as junk does not address the compromised application. Question number 13. A Linux user attempts to modify a system configuration file located /etc slash directory using a text editor but receives a permission error. The user does not want to switch to the root account but instead wants to make the change using their own user credentials temporarily with root privileges. Which of the following commands would allow the user to achieve this? So the user is trying to edit something and is receiving the permission error. So this issue can be resolved by either using the root account, but the user does not want to use the root account since it is risky. User wants to use the same user but with temporary root privileges. So how to achieve this? Options are option A, to, or this stands for switch user dash C nano, where nano is the text editor slash etc slash config.conf. Option B sudo nano slash etc slash config.conf. Option C sudo dash I nano slash etc slash config.conf. And option D su root dash C nano slash etc slash config.conf. And the correct option is option B sudo nano slash etc slash config.conf. So sudo is the command to use so that your user get temporarily the root privileges. Nano is the text editor that is used inside Linux, and this is the file that the user want to edit. So the explanation is the sudo command allows a regular user to execute a single command with temporary root privileges provided they are authorized in sudoers file. Running sudo nano slash etc slash config.conf, open the configuration file in nano text editor with administrative privileges, perfect for one-time edits without switching to the root account. The incorrect option A, su-c nano slash etc slash config.conf runs the command as another user but usually requires the root password, not the user's. Option C, sudo dash I opens a root shell, not a single privileged command. And option D, su or switch user root dash C also requires the root password which the user wants to avoid using. Question number 14. A system administrator is unfamiliar with the options available for the change mode command on a Linux server. So this is a command inside Linux. The administrator wants to view the manual page that provides detailed information about the chmod command, including its options, usage, and examples. Which of the following commands should the administrator use? So the question is that, let's suppose there is this specific command and you want to know the details about the command, that how to use it, what are some options that can be used with this command, and what are some examples that shows this command in action. So the options are option A, man chmod, option B, help chmod, option chmod dash help, and option D, info chmod. And the correct option is, so the purpose of all these commands is to show the detailed information about this command. So this can be replaced by any other command, and this man basically stands for manual. So this command basically displays the manual page of the command that follows. So the man or manual command displays the manual pages for the Linux commands, offering detailed documentation including syntax, options, descriptions, and examples. Running man chmod opens the official manual entry for the chmod command. Other options such as option B, help chmod, is used for shell built-in commands like cd and echo, but chmod is an external command. Option C, chmod dash help gives a brief summary of options, not the full manual. And option D, info chmod provides detailed info in a different format, but Man or manual CH mode is the standard and most direct way to view the manual of any command inside Linux. Question number 15. During troubleshooting of a user's PC, you notice that it is being used by the user to do cryptocurrency mining. You decide that this violates your company's guidelines. Which of the following should you update to reflect this? The options are option A, EULA, that is End User License Agreement. Option B, AUP, that is Acceptable Use Policy. Option C, Conditional Access Policies. And option D, MDM, that is Mobile Device Management. And the correct option is, so you, I think, already have guessed the correct option, and it is option B, Acceptable Use Policy. So the acceptable use policy, that is AUP, defines what users are allowed and not allowed to do with company systems and resources such as devices and laptops. If cryptocurrency mining is not permitted, the AUP should be updated to explicitly prohibit such activity. Other options such as EULA, End User License Agreement, governs software use, not company policy. Conditional access policies control access to network resources based on conditions such as location, device compliance, etc. And MDM, that is Mobile Device Management, manages and secures mobile devices, not user behavior policies. So therefore, the correct policy to update is the AUP, that is Acceptable Use Policy. Question number 16. You need to implement secure physical access to your data center. Which of the following would allow you to achieve that? The options are option A, motion sensors, option B, alarms, option C, geofence, and option page reader. So we are talking about secure physical access inside the physical facility or building that houses your data center. And the correct option is badge reader. So all those employees or users that have the badge can securely access the facility, and the user without the required badge would be able to enter the facility. And the explanation is, so a badge reader controls physical access by requiring authorized personnel to scan an ID badge before entering the secure areas like a data center. This ensures only approved individuals can enter. The incorrect options, such as motion sensors, detect movement but do not restrict access. Alarms notify of unauthorized entry but do not control access. And geofence uses GPS for virtual boundaries suitable for mobile devices, not physical doors. So therefore, a badge reader is the best option for secure physical control. Question number 17. When working in a data center, which of the following would be your most important concern as an IT person? And the options are option A, disposing of toner, option B, EST mats, option C, humidity levels, and option D, network cable length. And the correct option is, we are talking about the physical server room or the facility that houses the machine. So the most important concern at that facility is the humidity level, because the humidity level are critical for IT equipment such as servers and network devices such as firewall and routers. So in a data center, maintaining proper humidity levels is crucial because low humidity can lead to electrostatic discharge, damaging sensitive components. High humidity can cause condensation and erosion on equipment. Disposing of, these are the incorrect options. Disposing of toner is important for safety but not a critical data center concern. ESD mats are helpful for individual workstations, but humidity control affects the entire environment. And network cable length matters for performance, but not as critical as environmental control. So hence, humidity levels are the most important concern for IT staff in a data center. Question number 18. One of your clients have called you to come set up a brand new Wi-Fi router for them. Which of the following is the first thing you should do? And the options are option A, change the SSID, option B, change the default password, option C, change the DHCP setting, and option D, change the default IP address. And the correct option is, so you can do all these things with the brand new Wi-Fi router, but the most critical thing is to change the default password, because anyone having the info of the default password can access the device and change other settings or even get access to your secure network. So you can also change the SSID, but it is not necessary. Similarly, changing the IP addresses or DHCP, they can also be done or left as they are, but changing the default password is most important thing. So when setting up a new Wi-Fi router, the first step should always be to change the default administrator password. This prevents unauthorized users from accessing the router setting using widely known default credentials. So the default credentials of all vendors are almost available over the web. For example, if you have an access point of, let's suppose, Cisco, and you go on the Cisco website or on the web and search for the default Cisco AP credential, you will easily get there. The incorrect options change the SSID, improves identification but does not improve security. Similarly, changing the DHCP settings are optional and usually done later. And similarly, changing the default IP address can reduce conflicts with other devices and network, but it is not a primary security step. So therefore, changing the default password first ensures the router's configuration remains secure during and after setup. Question number 19. One of your clients reports that one of the computers in their environment performs sluggishly. They mentioned some users have reported the issue while others who use the same machine experienced nothing. Which of the following should you try? And the options are option A, defragment the hard drive, option B, run the checklist command, option C, add more system memory, and option D, increase paging file size. And the correct option is, we are talking about a sluggish performing computer, and the correct option is option C, add more system memory. And the explanation is, so if a computer is slow for some users but not others, it often indicates that certain users are running more memory intensive application or processes. Insufficient RAM can cause sluggish performance when system memory runs out and the computer starts using the paging file or virtual memory, which is much slower. The incorrect options are defragment the hard drive, helps mainly with mechanical hard disk drives but won't fix memory shortages. Test command basically detects disk errors, not performance issues related to RAM and memory. And increasing the paging file size offers minor improvement but not a substitute for adding RAM. So adding more system memory is the most effective way to improve overall and user specific performance. Question number 20. A technician has just learned about an exploit which has been identified on the company web server. There is no patch yet for the exploit. Which of the following has most likely occurred? So we have an exploit, but there is no patch available from the vendor. This type of exploit or this type of attack is known as options are option A 0-day, option B brute force, option C DOS or denial of service, and option D spoofing. And the correct option is, I hope you have already guessed the correct option, and it is option A 0-day. As the name indicates, this exploit is discovered on the day 1 or the 0-day before even the knowledge of the exploit about the exploit to the vendor, and therefore there is no page yet released by the vendor. So this type of exploit is very critical because there is no page available and the malicious actor can exploit the vulnerability uh, easily, since it cannot be you can say patched or mitigated, since there is no patch available for that. So what we can do in this scenario, that we can either isolate the system from the network, or we can, you can say, control access to the system, to the compromised system, through other mechanisms such as firewall and other controls. So a zero-day exploits refer to a newly discovered vulnerability that attackers can exploit before the vendor releases a patch or fix. Because no updates exist yet, it poses a high security risk. The incorrect option, brute force, involves repeatedly guessing passwords. DOS or denial of service overloads a system to make it unavailable. And spoofing imitates another system or user to gain unauthorized access. So since there is no patch yet for the discovered exploit, it is clearly a zero-day vulnerability. Question number 21. One of your technicians would like to make use of an answer file during an installation. Which of the following installation types would require the use of an answer file? And the options are option A, clean, option B, upgrade, option C, repair, and option D, unattended. And the correct option is option D, unattended. And the explanation is, so an unattended installation uses an answer file to automatically provide responses to setup prompts like license, time zone, and user details, allowing the operating system to install without manual intervention. The incorrect option, such as clean, is manual installation with user input. Upgrade type basically updates an existing operating system, and it is also typically interactive. Interactive means that the user inserts inputs, and the repair type basically fixes an existing installation, and in this type of installation no answer file is used. So therefore unattended installation are specifically rely on answer files to automate the setup or installation process. Question number 22. The company of one of your clients has an open wireless network. Clients and vendors need to be able to connect to the network without logging in. Your client is concerned that nearby business is using their wireless network without permission. Which of the following will allow your client to address this issue without asking their clients or vendors to log in? Choose one option. And the options are option A, changing the SSID, option B, MAC filtering, option C, power levels, option D, content filtering, option E, firewall. And the correct option is We are talking about that the client and vendor should be able to use the network without logging in, but the neighbors should not be able to use the Wi-Fi network. And we can do this with the power level. If we decrease the power level, it means wireless network would not be available to the nearby neighbors, but will be available inside the vendor or organization company owned facility. So by reducing the wireless access points power level, your client can limit the Wi-Fi signal range so it does not extend beyond their premises. This helps prevent nearby businesses from connecting while still keeping work open and accessible to clients and vendors without requiring a login. Other incorrect options such as changing the SSID only changes the network name but does not stop outsiders. MAC filtering would require managing allowed devices, which is inconvenient for guests. Content filtering controls website access, not who connects. Firewall basically protects traffic, not wireless access. And changing the Wi-Fi password would require users to log in, which the client does not want. So therefore, adjusting the Wi-Fi power level is best solution. Question number 23. The company of one of your clients does not allow USB drives to be available in workstations. An exception, however, needs to be made for one user. You change the policy for the one user. Which of the following commands should you run next? And the options are option A, check disk, option B, update, option C, disk part, and option D, IP config. And the correct option is option B, GP update or group policy update. So what does this command do? After modifying a group policy setting, such as allowing USB drives for a specific user, you must run the update command to force the system to apply the new policy immediately. Just check this command basically checks for disk errors and is not related to this specific scenario. Disk part is used to manage disk partition, and ipconfig basically displays or renew network configuration information such as IP addresses, subnet mask, and gateway. So therefore, running GP update or group policy update ensures the updated policy takes effect without waiting for the next automatic refresh cycle. Question number 24. Which of the following would be an example of MFA or multi-factor authentication? And the options are option A, smart card plus PIN, option B, password plus PIN, option C, username plus password, and option D, fingerprint scan and facial recognition scan. So remember, the MFA basically multi-factor authentication is where we have two or more than two factors. So the two factors types. So the key point is factor types. So here the password and PIN they are basically the same factor. So effectively we have one factor. This type of factor is known as something the user knows. Then we have the biometric, which is something the user is, which is his physiological characteristic. And third one is something the user is, have or possess, such as the smart card. So if we look at the options, this is one factor, this is second. So here we have 1 plus 1, two factor. Two-factor authentication or multi-factor. These are same, these are also same. And both of these also belong to the same type. Therefore, these are one factor. So the correct option is then option A. Since smart card plus PIN are two-factor, and therefore this is true multi-factor authentication. So explanation is multi-factor authentication requires using two or more different authentication factors from separate categories. So there are, you can say, as I already said, basically three categories or three type of factors. Something you know, such as PIN as password, something you have, for example, smart card or token, and something you have, such as fingerprint, facial recognition. So smart card plus PIN combines something you have, which is smart card, plus something you know, which is password. So that's why this is two-factor or multi-factor authentication. Password plus PIN both are something you know. Therefore, this is, you can say, one category. Username plus password, only one factor, which is something you know, which is this password, and fingerprint plus facial recognition, again, both are something you are, which is again one category. So therefore, smart card plus PIN is the valid example of multi-factor authentication. Question number 25, you need to change the processor in a desktop PC of one of your clients. Before you open the PC, which of the following procedures should you perform first? Choose all that apply. The options are option A, unplug the computer from its power source. Option B, remove dust from the ventilation fans. Option C, putting on an ESD strap, electrostatic discharge strap. Option D, putting the PSU in an anti-static bag. PSU is power supply unit. And option E, ensuring proper ventilation. And the correct option is option A and option C. So we have two correct options. First correct option is option A, unplug the computer from its power, and option C, putting an ESD strap. And the explanation is, so before opening a desktop PC and working on internal components like the CPU, you must do the following. Option A, unplug the computer from its power source, which prevents electric shock and hardware damage. And option C, put an ESD, that is electrostatic discharge strap, which protects sensitive components from static electricity. So other options which are incorrect, such as option B, remove dust. So it is a good maintenance step but not required before opening the case. Option D, put PSU in an anti-static bag, is not applicable since the PSU stays start. PSU is power supply unit where you plug the power cable. And option E, ensure proper ventilation. It is important during the operation but not before opening. So therefore, the first procedure should be unplugging the and wearing an ESD strap. Question number 26. The network of one of your clients was breached. After investigating the logs and reports, you see that it was a attack, and after 300 attempts, a single user's account was breached. Which of the following should you use? We are talking about countering a dictionary attack. So, what is a dictionary attack? We will see in a while. And the options are option A, lock, option B, virus, option C, count lockout, and option longer passwords. And the correct option is option C, account lockout. So dictionary attack is a type of attack that has a compilation of most used passwords and phrases, and then these passwords are tried one by one on the user account. So if you apply a policy that the account should be logged out after, let's suppose, 3 or 4 or 5 wrong attempts, so this kind of attack can be thwarted. And the explanation is so a dictionary attack involves repeatedly trying common or pre-compiled password until one works. Implementing an account lockout policy will automatically lock the account after a certain number of failed login attempts, effectively stopping automated password guessing attacks like this. Other options, screen lock protects unattended devices, not network logins. Antivirus defends against malware but not login attacks. And longer passwords can help, but they don't prevent login attempts. So, account lockout directly mitigates the attack method, which is dictionary attack. Question number 27. You are finalizing a new workstation for a user. The user's PC will be connected to the internet but will not require the same private IP address each time. Which of the following protocols will you most likely utilize? And the options are option A DHCP, option B DNS, option C RDP, and option D SMTP. So DHCP is domain host configuration, dynamic host configuration protocol that is assign IP addresses, other information automatically to the user. DNS is domain name system and RDP is remote desktop protocol while SMTP is simple mail transfer protocol. So the correct option here is we are talking about assigning a random IP address to the client, and this is done through DHCP or dynamic host configuration protocol. So let's suppose if we want that the user has the same IP address each time, for this we have provision in DHCP as well as we can also use static IP addressing. So let's go through the explanation. So DHCP or dynamic host configuration protocol automatically assigns IP addresses to devices on a network. Since the workstation does not require the same private IP address each time used, DHCP is ideal because it dynamically provides an available IP address whenever the device connects. Other incorrect options such as DNS resolve domain names to IP addresses. It is not used to assign IP addresses to clients. RDP or remote desktop protocol is used for remote desktop access and has nothing to do with assigning IP addresses, and SMTP or simple mail transfer protocol is for sending email. So therefore DHCP is the correct choice if you want to randomly assign IP addresses to devices or clients on a network. Question number 28. The company of one of your clients is retiring old workstation and they need a certificate of destruction for all hard drives. Which of the following would be best to perform on the hard drive to ensure the data is unrecoverable? Select two options, and the options are option A low level formatting, option B standard formatting, option C drilling, option D incineration, option cycling, option F erasing. We are talking about you can say digital sanitization of the hard drive so that the data on the hard drive is no longer recoverable. Since the data is sensitive and we have to choose two options, correct options are option C drilling and option D incineration. So why these two options? Because both these options physically you can say destroy the hard drive and there is no way you can recover data from a physically destroyed hard drive. Other methods are through software or logical method, and there are chances that data can still be recovered when they are formatted or erased. So the foolproof method is physically destroying the hard drive either through drilling, incineration, or through crushing. So when a company requires a certificate of destruction, it means the data must be permanently destroyed and unrecoverable. The most effective methods are physical destruction techniques such as drilling, which physically damages the platters, making data recovery impossible, and incineration completely destroys the hard drive and data through intense. Other options like formatting or erasing can leave data recoverable using advanced forensic tools, and recycling does not guarantee data destruction. Question number 29. You removed a virus from a user's device. Same user returns the same device a week later with the same virus on it. Which of the following should you do to prevent future infection? And the options are option A, disable system restore, option B, create the end user, option C, remove some of the user's privileges, and option D, install the latest OS patches. And the correct option is option B. So here the issue seems like with user behavior, since the user is coming again with the same virus, it means that user needs to be educated to update or to improve his behavior and does not indulge in activities that result viruses on their device, such as they may be clicking on malicious links, or they may be visiting malicious websites, or downloading software from third party and unverified sources. So if the user is educated regarding this threat, the will be resolved permanently. So the explanation is if the same virus reappears after removal, it likely means the user repeated the same risky behavior, for example, downloading from unsafe sites, opening malicious attachments, or using infected USB drives. So educating the end user helps them understand safe computing practices and prevent reinfection. The incorrect options such as disabling system restore might remove restore points but does not stop future infections. Removing privileges can help in some cases but does not address the root cause, which is behavior. And installing operating system patches improves security but would not stop the same virus if user keeps producing it. So the best preventive measure here is user education. Question number 30. The system drive of one of your user is nearly full and you need to free up some space for them. Which of the following tools should you use? The options are option A, disk segment, option B, check disk, option C, disk cleanup, and option D, resource monitor. And the correct option is option C, disk cleanup. So using the disk cleanup utility, you can free up some of the spaces from the user drive. So disk cleanup is a Windows utility designed to free up space on a drive by deleting temporary files, system cache, and cycle bin contents and other unnecessary files. Disk defragment rearranges data for faster access but does not free space. Check disk checks for disk errors and bad sectors, and resource monitor shows real-time resource usage but does not manage disk space. So therefore, disk cleanup is the correct tool to use. Question number 31. A malicious file was executed automatically when a flash drive was plugged in. Which of the following features would prevent this type of incident? And the options are option A, enabling the firewall, option B, turning off autoplay, option C, disabling UAC, and option D, disconnecting from network. And the correct option is, we are talking about automatic execution of a file when a USB drive or flash drive is plugged inside the device, and the correct option prevents such occurrence is turning off the autoplay feature. So when autoplay or auto run is enabled, files on removable drives like USB can execute automatically when plugged in, which is now malicious file, which is how malicious files spread quickly. Turning off was the correct option. Turning off autoplay stops any automatic execution and lets the user choose what to do, preventing such infection. Correct options such as enabling firewall only filters network traffic, not USB activity. Disabling UAC would reduce security. UAC is, I think, user account control, and disconnecting from network would not stop local malware from running. So therefore, disabling autoplay feature is the best prevention against automatic execution of files inside USB drives. Question number 32. One of your users is unable to log in into main the desktop PC, but a laptop PC is working properly on the same network. You log in desktop PC with a local account, but you are unable to browse to the secure intranet site to get troubleshoot tools. Which of the following is most likely cause of the, and the options are option A, dual inline memory module failure, option B, application crash, option C, time drift, and option D, file system errors. Correct option is option C, time drift. And the explanation is, so if a computer's system clock is out of sync with the domain controller, domain logins and access to secure, that is HTTPS sites, can fail because authentication and SSL/TLS certificates rely on accurate time synchronization. The incorrect options such as dual inline memory module failure would cause crashes or boot issues but not login failures. Application crash affects only specific programs, not domain authentication, and file system errors could cause data corruption but would not prevent secure logins or HTTPS browsing. So, time drift between workstation and the domain controller is the most likely cause. Question number 33. One of your users attempts to open some files, but a message appears stating that the files are encrypted. User was able to access these files before without receiving a message, and no changes have been made. Company, which of the following has infected the computer? The options are option A, phishing, option B, ransomware, option C, spyware, and option D, logger. And the correct option is option B, ransomware. So ransomware is the malware that encrypts file on a user device, and it is done by malicious actors, and they want ransom in exchange for the decryption key so that the file can be decrypted. So ransomware encrypts a user files and demands payment that is ransom to restore access. The fact that the user previously had access but now sees an message is a clear sign of a ransomware infection. Other option, phishing tricks user into revealing information but does not encrypt files. Spyware secretly monitors user activity, and keyloggers basically records keystroke to steal credentials such as username and password but does not encrypt files. So therefore, the infection is caused by ransomware. Question number 34. One of your junior technicians is busy optimizing a client's computer to try and get it to boot faster. The technician goes into MS config to have a look at what's starting up with the computer but sees a message that it has been moved. Where can this junior techie items that start up with Windows? The options are option A MSTSC, option B performance monitor, option C MS info 32, and option D task manager. And the correct option is task manager. So the startup items can be the task manager. So in modern versions of Windows, that is Windows 8 and later, the Startup tab was moved from MS Config to Task Manager. This tab allows you to view and manage programs that automatically start when Windows boots. MSTSC basically opens remote desktop connection. Performance Monitor basically opens Performance Monitor. MS Info 32 displays the system information. So the task manager basically opens task manager where startup application are now managed. Therefore, the user technician open task manager to view startup items. Question number 35. One of your clients receives a phone call from a person who claims they are from the client's bank. Which of the following describes what is taking place? The options are option A spear phishing, option B spoofing, phishing, and option D evil twin. And the correct option is phishing. So phishing is voice phishing since the attacker is using phone call or voice call to phish the user. Therefore, this type of attack is known as phishing, or you can say phishing using voice messaging or voice calling. So phishing, that is voice phishing, is a phone-based social engineering attack where a scammer pretends to be a legitimate entity such as like a bank to trick victims into sharing confidential information such as an account number or password. So the incorrect options such as spear phishing is used in email attack targeting a specific person. Spoofing basically is faking identity details like caller ID or IP address. Evil twin is basically fake Wi-Fi network which is for data theft. So because this attack occurs over a phone call, therefore it is phishing. Question number 36. One of your clients downloads and installs a game. Game ends up stealing information from the computer system. What is this known as, or this type of malware is known as? And the options are option A spam, option B phishing, option C Trojan, and option D spyware. And the correct option is option C Trojan. So Trojan is a type of malware that seems a legitimate software or application such as game, but at the back end, it is a malicious software that steals information. So a Trojan or Trojan horse is a type of malicious software disguised as a legitimate program such as a game or utility. Once installed, it performs unauthorized actions like stealing data or giving attackers access to the system. The incorrect option, such as spam, is unwanted or unsolicited messages. Phishing basically attempts to trick users into revealing data, usually via email or fake websites, and spyware monitors user activity but typically installs silently, not disguised as another program. So, since the malware was disguised as game, it is a Trojan or Trojan horse. Question number 37. A client calls a support center which you work at and begins to yell at one of your fellow technician colleagues about a feature of a product that does not work to their satisfaction. This feature is not supported by your support center and needs to be inspected by a field technician. The client continues to demand service. Which of the following is best to? The options are: option A, tell the customer they should be able to fix the problem themselves. Option B, inform the customer that problem is not within the scope of this department. Option C, apologize to the client and escalate the matter to manager. And option D, ask the customer to explain the issue, then try to fix it independently. And the correct option is option C, apologize to the client and escalate the matter to a manager. And the explanation is, so in this scenario, the customer is angry and demanding service for an issue outside your department's scope. So the most professional and effective response is to remain calm and apologize for the inconvenience and escalate the issue to a manager or the appropriate team. The incorrect options, telling the customer to fix it themselves, is unprofessional. Similarly, simply saying it's not your department sounds dismissive and escalates frustration, and trying to fix an issue beyond your scope can cause further problems. So the best action is apologize and escalate so the issue is handled properly and the customer feels heard. Question number 38. A user's newly issued PC has very large desktop icons. They report that the new was working fine until a recent software patch was deployed. Which of the following would best resolve the issue? And the options are: option A, restoring the factory settings. Option B, rolling back video card drives. Option C, run an antivirus scan. And option D, reinstalling the Windows operating system. And the correct option is, so the most suitable action would be to uninstall the recent software patch, and that patch was installing or updating the video card drives. So rolling back video card drives would resolve the. If the desktop icons suddenly appear large after a software page, it likely means video, that is graphics driver, was updated incorrectly or became compatible. The incorrect option, this one is the correct option. So rolling back the video card driver restores the previous working version and usually fixes the scaling issue. Restoring, factory resetting, or reinstalling Windows are excessive for this problem, and running an antivirus scan is unrelated unless malware is suspected. So therefore, the best solution is to roll back the video card drivers. Question number 39. During your stay at a hotel, when trying to connect to the Wi-Fi, you notice multiple SSIDs. SSIDs are the name of the Wi-Fi that appear on your device when you search for them, with names that look very similar. Which of the following social engineering attacks is used? And the options are: option A, impersonation; option B, evil twin; option C, whaling; and option D, phishing. And the correct option is, so when we have multiple SSIDs, and it means that we have a legitimate SSID, and then there is an attacker that is using his rogue Wi-Fi router with the same or similar name to the legitimate Wi-Fi router, so that the user may mistakenly connect to the rogue SSID and the attacker may then intercept the data. So this type of attack is known as evil twin. So an evil twin attack involves setting up a rogue Wi-Fi access point that uses a name that is SSID similar to a legitimate network such as hotels Wi-Fi. When users connect to the fake network, attackers can intercept data like logins and personal information. The incorrect option, impersonation, is pretending to be another person, which is not the case over here. Whaling is basically a phishing attack that target executives. Executive means the CEO, or you can say CFO of the organization. So this is a type of phishing attack, but it targets only high value targets such as CEO and CFO. Similarly, phishing is another attack that user do using fraudulent attempts to get sensitive info, typically via email or fake websites. So, whaling is also a type of phishing, but it is more specific towards executives. Another phishing attack is spear phishing. So, spear phishing is also a type of attack, but it is done against a specific group of people. So phishing is more generic. Then we have spear phishing, which may be against specific group of people. For example, let's suppose the finance department, and then we have very specific that targets high value individuals such as CEO and CFO. So since the attacker is using a fake Wi-Fi network with a similar name, this is an evil twin attack. Question number 40. Which of the following should be used to secure a device from known exploits? The options are option A, remote wipe, option B, encryption, option C, operating system updates, and option D, only install vendor approved software. So known exploits mean these are the vulnerabilities or exploits that are already known to the vendors. So the best defense against them is, since the vendors know them, it means that you need to update and enable operating system updates, because the vendor will be releasing patches for these exploits since they are already known. And if they were not known, the exploits that are not known, as we already studied, they are known as zero-day exploit, and for such exploit there are no patches. They are more risky, you can say, are more difficult to defend against since there are no patches against them. Question number and the explanation is, so installing the latest operating system updates ensures that all known vulnerabilities and security flaws are patched, protecting the device from known exploits that attackers might use. The incorrect options, remote wipe basically protects data after a device is lost or stolen and is not from exploits. So remote wipe does not protect from exploits. Similarly, encryption protects data confidentiality, not against software exploits. And option D, only install vendor approved software. This option also helps reduce the risk, but it does not address existing OS vulnerability. Question number 41. You receive a call from a client who is having issue with an application. You want to simultaneously view the user screen them to help them troubleshoot the application. By user screen, we mean that we want to view the user laptop screen or his PC screen. So which of the following would allow you to achieve this? I mean, how can you remotely view the user screen so that you and both the user can and you can troubleshoot the issue? So the option to do this are RDP, remote desktop protocol, option B, virtual private network, option C, SSH, secure shell, and option D, VNC, virtual network connectivity. And the correct option is, so the RDP is specifically for Windows, and it does give the remote desktop, but only the remote person can see the desktop. The user won't be able to share or see the screen that what's going on. VPN is used for secure communication over the internet or over public media. SSH is used for secure and encrypted management of remote devices such as network switching and firewall. So the correct option is VNC. So VNC, virtual network computing. So it is virtual network computing, not virtual network connectivity. This allows you to remotely view and control another user's desktop screen in real time, making it ideal for troubleshooting applications with the user watching simultaneously. Other options such as RDP, remote desktop protocol, gives full remote control to the remote user but usually logs out the local user. So the local user cannot view the screen, and so both the remote and the local user cannot view the screen together. Option B, VPN, virtual private network, provides a secure connection to a network, not for screen sharing. And option C, SSH, secure shell, is for command line access to remote systems, not for viewing graphical desktops. Question number 42. The system drive of one of your users is nearly full. You need to free up some space. Which of the following tools you can use to achieve this? I think we have already gone through such type of question before. So the options are: option A, disk cleanup; option B, disk defragment; option C, resource monitor; and option D, disk management. And the correct option is, so most of the time we have the clue in the name of the utility, such as disk cleanup. So as the name indicates, it is this utility is used to clean up the free up the space on the disk. So disk cleanup is a Windows utility that helps free up space on the system drive by deleting temporary files, system cache, old updates, and items in cycle bin. Incorrect options such as disk defragment reorganizes data for faster access but does not free up space. Resource monitor basically monitors CPU, memory, disk, and network usage. It does not delete files. And disk management basically is used for managing partitions and drives, not for cleaning up files. Question number 43. Which of the following can you use in your environment to identify potential issues with a proposed change before implementation? The options are: option A, request form; option B, rollback plan; option C, end user acceptance; and option D, sandbox testing. Correct option is, we are talking about which of the following can you use in your environment to identify potential issue with the proposed change before, and it is the sandbox testing. So what does sandbox testing do? Sandbox is basically an isolated environment from your production environment where you can test the changes. Let's suppose an application and observe the behavior of the application after change without affecting your production environment, so that if there are any disruption, you can watch them and you can potentially prepare for its deployment in the production environment. So sandbox testing basically allows you to test proposed changes in an isolated environment that mirrors the production system. This helps identify potential issues or conflicts before deploying the change live. Incorrect option, request form, is used to formally request a change, not to test it. So this is the initial step. Rollback plan basically outlines steps to revert a change if change failed, but it does not prevent issues beforehand. And end user acceptance occurs after implementation of the testing, not before deployment. So this is, you can say, one of the last step. Question number 44. One of your clients reports an issue on their laptop with their internet connection speed. Which of the following tools can you use investigate connections on a laptop? The options are option A, net user, option B, net use, option B, net user, option C, net state, and option D, NS lookup. We are talking about investigating connections on a laptop and how we can do that. So connection means connection to the network or the internet or the outside network. So the net state or network statistic ability that we can use to investigate the connections on the laptop. So net state or network statistic is a command line tool that displays active network connections, ports, and network statistics, help you investigate network activity and performance issues on a laptop. Incorrect options such as net use basically manages shared network drives and users. Net user basically manages user accounts, and NS lookup test DNS name resolution, not overall network connections. Question number 45. You have discovered that the input of one of your users has been captured. Which of the following malware attack is used? The options are option A, spear phishing, option B, logger, option C, ransomware, and option D, cryptominer. So you can see we are having questions related to these malware attacks, and by now you should be able to know what type of malware does and how does it operate. So the malware that basically captures the user input or the user keystrokes, we already studied this, and as I said before, you should always focus on the name itself. So capturing the code and here keystrokes, and here we can see that logger, it means the malware that logs the. So therefore our correct option is option B, keylogger. Spear phishing, as we already studied, is a phishing attack against specific group of people. Ransomware is malware that encrypts user files and demands ransom or payment for the against the decryption key. And cryptominer is a malware that mines cryptocurrency on the user computer using the user computer resources such as CPU, GPU, RAM. So a keylogger is a type of malware that records keystrokes made by a user to capture sensitive information such as passwords, messages, and credit card details. Other options such as spear phishing is a targeted email-based social engineering attack. Ransomware encrypts data and demands payment for decryption. And crypto miners use system resources to secretly mine cryptocurrency. Question number 46. You discover that at one of your clients, a very high amount of connection requests are coming from all over geographically. What type of attack is this? And the options are option A, distributed denial of service, option B, phishing, option C, 0-day, and option D, ransomware. Correct option is, so again, as we said, always focus on the name. So when your client receives very high number of requests all over geographically, it means that the server or the application of the client will be overwhelmed and the application will be slow or unresponsive to users. So this type of attack is known as distributed denial of service. Denial of service means that the service will be denied to the legitimate users, since there are a very high amount of fake traffic coming from all over geographical locations. So a distributed denial of service or DDoS attack occurs when multiple systems across different locations flood a target server or network with excessive traffic, overwhelming its resources and making it unavailable to legitimate users. Incorrect options such as phishing involve tricking users into revealing information via deceptive messages. Zero-day exploits are unknown vulnerability before their patches exist, and ransomware encrypts file and demands payment for encryption. Question number 47. One of your users would like to enter their username and password only once. Which of the following best describes when a user enters a username and password only once? So, only once means that let's suppose there are multiple applications and multiple systems and each requires a username and passwords. So, the user wants to enter the username and passwords only once, not each time for each application. So, how to do that? So, we have the options of option A, MFA multi-factor authentication, option B, inheritance, option C, SSO, and option D, authentication. And the correct option is, so again, if you know the abbreviation of the SSO, you already know the correct option. SSO stands for single sign-on. So what does this mean? This means that user needs sign on or log in only one time. And then the user can use, let's suppose we have multiple application 1, application 2, and application 3. So user does not need to enter username and password for each application. User need to enter application username and password only one through SSO, and then will be able to use all the application. So single sign-on SSO allows a user to log in once and then access multiple related systems or applications without need to re-enter credentials each time. So incorrect options such as MFA multi-factor authentication requires multiple verification methods, not single entry. Option B, inheritance refers to access rights or attributes passed from a parent object, unrelated. And authentication is the general process of verifying identity, not necessarily single sign-on. Question number 48. You have a user who is working from home who is complaining they cannot view or access in-office network folders when they are home. Which of the following is most likely the reason? The options are option A, MDM policies, option B, outdated antivirus, option C, untrusted software, and option D, inactive VPN. And the correct option is inactive VPN. So if the user is working from home and want to access in-office network folder, it means user will be using VPN to access the office network. And if the VPN is inactive, user won't be able to access the office network. So a VPN or virtual private network securely connects remote users to the company's internal network, allowing access to shared folders and resources. If the VPN is inactive or disconnected, the user won't be able to access in-office network folders. Incorrect options such as option A, MDM policy basically manage mobile devices and settings, not direct network access. Option B, outdated antivirus could cause security risk but not network access issues. And option C, untrusted software might be blocked but does not prevent access to shared folders. Question number 49. You need to upgrade a lot of machines at one of your client's company to Windows 11. You notice you have only one disk and decide to do it over the network. Which of the following boot methods initiates such an upgrade? And the options are option A, SSD, option B, optical drive, option C, flash drive, and option D, exe. So we are looking for upgrading or installing operating system over the network, and the method to do this is option D, PXE. All these methods are done locally on one system at a time, such as using the optical drive, flash drive, or from SSD. So PXE boot basically allows computers to boot from a network server instead of a local media like a disk or USB drive. It's commonly used for mass operating system deployments or upgrades across multiple machines. The incorrect options, such as option A, SSD, is a storage device, not a boot method. Option B, optical drive uses CDs and DVDs for installation. And option C, flash drive uses USB storage for booting, not network based. Question number 50. A user at the company of your clients is working with highly regulated data. The user notices that often there is a high amount of traffic in their network area and is concerned about possible data exposure as people walk by. So by traffic means here the high number of people walking around in the area. So which of the following security measures can be used? The options are option A, biometric device, option B, cable lock, option C, privacy screen, and option D, man trap. And the correct option is, so you are talking about protecting confidentiality of our data from people walking nearly or walking by, and it can be done through privacy screens. So a privacy screen limits the viewing angle of a monitor so that only the person directly in front of it can see the display. This prevents shoulder surfing and visual data exposure in areas with heavy foot traffic. Other options such as biometric device controls access to system, not screen visibility. Cable lock basically physically secures devices against theft, and man trap controls physical entry to secure areas, not screen visibility. So that's all for this video. I will upload the part 3 of the video with further questions soon. So please like the video, subscribe for the upcoming video and other certification courses as well as practice questions. Question number 51. The duration for which a DHCP client is authorized to use a dynamically assigned IP address from a DHCP server is known as. The options are options A, allocation, option B, lease, option C, interval, and option D, reservation. So in DHCP, each client is allocated or assigned an IP address for a fixed duration, and after that the IP address is renewed. So that duration is known as, and the correct option is option B, lease. So a lease is the duration for which a DHCP client is permitted IP address assigned by the DHCP server. Once the lease expires, the client must request to renew it to maintain the same IP address. So the incorrect options were allocation. Allocation refers to the process of assigning an IP address, not the duration of its use. Interval is a general term for a time gap, but it's not a DHCP specific term. And reservation is used to assign a fixed IP address to a specific device based on its MAC address, not for defining the time duration. So reservation is, let's suppose you want to assign same IP address to a client each time. So you can do this in DHCP configuration, and the MAC address of the client is associated with that specific IP address. Let's suppose it is 192.161.20. So this client will always get the same IP address and it will not be assigned to any other client. This is known as reservation. Question number 52. Which of the terms listed below refers to a logical grouping of computers that allows hosts to communicate as if they are on the same broadcast domain regardless of their physical location? So, broadcast domain means that when there is a concept called ARP, that is Address Resolution Protocol, when a client broadcasts an ARP request, it is listened by devices in the same broadcast domain. So, what is this logical grouping? Where all the devices are in the same broadcast domain, and the options are option A, VPN, virtual private network, option B, intranet, option C, screen subnet, and option D, VLAN. And the correct option is option D, VLAN or virtual local area network. So this is a grouping of devices in the VLAN where they share the same broadcast domain. Let's suppose we have VLAN A and VLAN B. So let's suppose VLAN A has client 1, client 2, client 3, and VLAN B has, let's suppose, client 4, 5, and 6. So this is one broadcast domain and this is another broadcast domain. And when we say that the physical location may be different, so you can also, let's suppose, do that this client 3, you can make it part of VLAN B. So it may be physically located in one building, and this location is another building, let's suppose building C and building D, but this 3 now belongs to the same VLAN and they are in the same broadcast domain. So a VLAN or a virtual local area network is a logical grouping of devices on one or more LAN segments that allows them to communicate as if they were on the same physical network or broadcast domain, even if they are located in different physical areas. VLANs enhance security and network management by segmenting traffic. So the incorrect options were VPN. VPN basically creates a secure connection over a public network like the internet, but it does not create a shared broadcast domain. Intranet is a private internal network used within an organization and it is not about logical network segmentation. And screen subnet, also known as a DMZ or demilitarized zone, is a separate network segment used to isolate public-facing servers from internal network for security. Question number 53. One of your clients has a computer that is used for point of sale transaction, that is POS transaction that are inside the convenience store and supermarkets. This computer of their this this computer of theirs processes credit card. So this point of sale computer processes credit card. Which of the following types of encryption should you use to protect the data on the computer in case of theft? And the options are option A, USB drive encryption, option B, data in transit encryption, option C, file encryption, and option D, disk encryption. So we are having credit card and other sensitive data on this computer. So how can we protect the confidentiality of that data? So it can be done through the disk encryption. And remember, we studied that inside Windows we have a utility that facilitates us in disk encryption, and that is known as bit locker. Microsoft Windows has this bit locker that lets you encrypt the whole drive or a volume. So disk encryption, also known as full disk encryption, encrypts the entire hard drive, protecting all stored data, including operating system files, transaction records, and saved credit card data in case the computer is lost or stolen. Incorrect option: USB drive encryption protects removable media, not the system's internal drive. Option B: data in transit encryption secures data during transmission, not while stored. And option C: file encryption protects individual files but may leave other sensitive data unprotected. Question number 54. You need to recommend a backup solution to one of your clients to mitigate ransomware attacks. Which of the following would be best for the client? The options are option A, full backup, option B, differential backup, option C, offsite backup, and option D, mental backup. So remember, we studied about ransomware attacks. So these are the type of attack in which the user files and data is encrypted, and the malicious actor basically demands payment or ransom change for the decryption of these files. So let's suppose if such type of attacks occurs in your organization, what are the mechanisms that you can protect your data from such attacks, or which type of backup should you do so that you can restore your data from these backups? And the correct option is, so in case of ransomware attack, you should do offsite backup. Why offsite? Because the ransomware may spread inside all your network and affect all the computer, including the backup. So it is always good to have the backup at the remote offsite location, so that if your on-site computers are compromised, you can restore your data from this offsite backup. So an offsite backup or offline backup stores copy of data separate from the main network, such as in cloud or on disconnected media. This ensures that even if ransomware encrypts on-site systems, the backup remains safe and unaffected. Incorrect option, option A, full backup backs up all data but can still be encrypted if connected during an attack. Option B, differential backup saves changes the last full backup but still vulnerable if online. And option D, incremental backup backs up data since last backup, but it is also at risk if the backup system is compromised. Question number 55. One of your clients just installed a new backup system. Which of the following types of backup should the client do first? And the options are again option A, incremental, option B, differential, option C, full backup, and option D, offsite backup. And the correct option is, so the first backup that you should do after installing a new backup system is the full backup of the whole data. And why is that? Because a full backup should always be performed first, because it creates a complete copy of all data. This serves as the baseline for subsequent incremental or differential backups, which rely on the initial full backup to track changes. So what are the other backup types? So the incremental backup basically first requires a full backup to compare changes. So you cannot do incremental backup as the startup point. Actually, you must do full backup, and after that you can do incremental. Similarly, differential also depends on prior full backup. If there is no prior full backup, differential backup is also of no use. And offsite backup refers to location, not the backup type. Offsite means that taking backup at a remote offsite location, such as you may be in city A, let's suppose New York, and you can do the backup in another city, such as city B or Los Angeles. Question number 56. One of your clients called the help desk to report that a machine that recently updated is no longer working. So the updation was machine was updated and it is no longer working. You check the latest logs to see what updates were deployed, but nothing was deployed in more than 3 weeks. Which of the following should you do best to resolve the issue? And the options are: option A, advise that the help desk will investigate and follow up at a later stage. Option B, offer to wipe and reset the device for the customer. Option C, put the client on hold and escalate the call to a manager. And option D, use open-ended questions to further diagnose the issue. And the correct option is, so the update was taken more than ago, so it is advisable to use open-ended question to further diagnose the issue. So when troubleshooting, it is best to start by asking open-ended question. For example, what exactly happens when you try to start the machine? To gather more information about the problem before taking action. This helps identify the root cause efficiently. The other incorrect options, option A, delaying the issue does not help resolve it. Option B, wiping and setting is premature without diagnosis of the issue first. And option C, escalating to a manager is unnecessary at this stage. Technical investigation should come first. Question number 57. Which of the following would prevent unauthorized access to a mobile device if it was left unattended? And the options are: option A, BYOD policy or bring your own device policy. Option B, code. Option C, virus software. And option D, operating system updates. And the correct option is, it is always advisable to enable the PIN code on your mobile so that it is secure if left unattended. So a PIN code or passcode helps prevent unauthorized access to a mobile device if left unattended by requiring authentication before use. Other options such as BYOD policy define rules for personal device use but does not directly secure a device. Antivirus software protects against malware, not physical access of the device, and OS updates patch vulnerabilities but don't stop someone from accessing an unlocked device. Question number 58. An application user in your company received an email indicating the version of the application currently will no longer be sold. Users with this version of the application will no longer receive patches or updates either. Which of the following indicates a vendor no longer supports a product? Which of the following indicates when a vendor no longer supports a product? And the options are AUP, that is acceptable use policy. Option B, ULA, that is end user license agreement. Option C, UL, that is end of life. And option D, UAC, that is user account control. And the correct option is, so the correct option, as I think you have already guessed, is the end of life. So end of life is when a product reaches life and the vendor no longer sells as well as uh, produces patches or updates for the application. So such an application is a risk. It should no longer be used and should be replaced with a new system or new application that receives regular updates and patches. So EOL end of life means vendor has stopped supporting, updating or patching product. Continuing to use it may pose security risks. No new fixes are provided. Incorrect options such as option A, AUP, acceptable use policy defines how users may use company resources. Option B, EULA, that is End User License Agreement, legal agreement between user and software vendor. And option D, UAC, User Account Control, is Windows feature to prevent unauthorized system changes not related to product expiration or reaching end of life. Question number 59. One of your clients has just installed a new computer game on their gaming rig. They notice that they have low frame rates. Which of the following can you upgrade on the client's computer to improve this? Are talking about the option. The options are option A, hard drive, option B, graphic cards, option C, random access memory, and option D, monitor. Correct option is, so the gamers should also already know the answer, that gaming quality, its frame rate, and its performance directly deals with the graphics card. So a graphic card or GPU handles image and video rendering, upgrading its significant frame rates and overall gaming performance, especially graphic intensive games. Incorrect options such as hard drive affects loading times but not frame rates. Option C, RAM helps with multitasking and performance, but GPU affects frame rates most. And option D, monitor is a higher refresh rate helps smoother motion but does not increase frame rate generated by the. Question number 60. You need to implement the most secure wireless network encryption on a client's router. Which of the following should you implement? So we are talking about the Wi-Fi encryption standards or Wi-Fi encryption, wireless LAN encryption, and the options are option A, WEP stands for Wired Equivalent Privacy, option B, BitLocker, option C, WPA2, and option D, FS. So this one is a legacy Wi-Fi encryption standard. It compromised, no longer used. BitLocker, we already studied, is basically a full disk encryption utility inside Windows. WPA2 is indeed a Wi-Fi encryption standard that is inside Wi-Fi routers, and EFS is encryption file system, which is not related to wireless network. So the correct option is, as you already guessed, option D, WPA2. I think WPA stands for Wi-Fi Protected Access. So WPA2 Wi-Fi Protected Access 2 provides strong wireless encryption using AES, that is advanced encryption standard, making it the most secure option among the listed choices for protecting a wireless network. So nowadays the latest standard is WPA2. If WPA3 was listed, so our choice would have been WPA3. Incorrect option WEP is outdated and is easily cracked and compromised. Option B, BitLocker, is basically full disk encryption utility. It encrypts drives, not wireless network. And EFS, encrypting file system, basically encrypts individual files on Windows, not Wi-Fi traffic. Question number 61. You need to configure a specific application to launch a certain time on a client's computer. Which of the following would allow you this? The options are option A, eventware.msc, option task schedule.msc, option sourcemonitor.exe, and option D, performancemonitor.msc. And the correct option is, so as we can see in the question, we want to configure an application and launch it at a certain time. We are talking about scheduling a task or scheduling the launch of an application. Therefore, the correct option is task schedule d.msc. So task Schedule daemon.msc opens the task scheduler, a window utility that allows you to automate the launch of applications or scripts. A specific times are based on certain triggers such as startup, login, or an event. Other options, including eventviewer.msc, basically opens event viewer to view system logs. Resource Monitor opens Resource Monitor to check system performance in real time. Performance Monitor.msc opens Performance Monitor to analyze system performance over time. So therefore, to schedule an application to launch automatically at a set time, you should use task scheduler, that is taskschedule.msc. Question number 62. One of your clients wants to security and prevents cars from physically driving in building. Which of the following would allow your customer to achieve this? And the options are option A, bollards, option B, cameras, option C, security guard, and option D, motion sensor. So we are talking about physical security of the building prevent car. So the correct option is, you may have already guessed, correct option is option A, bollards. So bollards, you may have seen this type of structures that are basically just outside the buildings or convenience store, so that, and it is just beside the road, and let's suppose here we have our building, so that if a driver intentionally or unintentionally tries to enter the building, these bollards basically stop them and the vehicle cannot go past these bollards. The bollards are strong, short vertical posts, often made of metal or concrete, placed, un, placed around buildings or entrances to block vehicles from driving in restricted areas. They provide physical security against vehicle-based attacks or accidental crashes. Cameras basically help monitor and record activity but do not physically stop vehicles. Security guards can deter or respond to threats but cannot physically block a vehicle. And motion sensors detect movement but offer no physical barrier. So therefore, bollards are the best solution to prevent cars from driving into a building. Question number 63. An incident has taken place at one of your clients and you need to document who had possession of evidence at every step of the process. Which of the following describes what you are doing? And the options are option A, rights management, option B, chain of custody, option C, audit trail, and option D, data integrity. And the correct option is chain of custody. So chain of custody is very important in forensic investigation, and it is basically chain of custody refers to the documentation and tracking process that records who collected, handled, and transferred or analyzed evidence from the time it was obtained until it is presented in court or finalized. It ensures evidence integrity and accountability throughout the investigation. Other options, rights management basically controls access to digital content. Audit trail log system are user activity for accountability but not specifically for evidence handling. And data integrity ensures data remains accurate and unaltered but does not track evidence possession. So therefore, documenting who had possession of evidence at each stage is called maintaining the chain of custody. Question number 64. One of your clients reports they have an issue with their PC. They report the PC is a lot slower than usual. Which of the following would help you identify what the issue is? And the options are option A, group policy editor, option B, disk management, option C, disk cleanup, and option D, source monitor. And the correct option is so resource monitor basically allows you to view real-time system performance including CPU, memory, disk, and network usage. It helps identify which processes or applications are slowing down the PC, making it ideal for troubleshooting and performance. So when you open the resource monitor, you see that which application is consuming how much CPU, memory, and disk, etc. And so you can either stop that application to release these resources and get better performance from your PC. Incorrect options such as group policy editor is used to configure system and user policies, not diagnose slowness. Risk management basically manages partitions and drives, not performance monitoring. And disk cleanup basically frees up space but does not identify what's causing slowness. Therefore, to diagnose why PC is running slow, you should use source monitor. Question number 65. One of your clients reports the data usage on their smartphone is way above the usual amount they normally use. You suspect they might have an installed application that is transmitting data in the background. You would like for the user to be alerted when an application attempts to communicate with the internet. Which of the following would allow you to achieve this on their device? And the options are option A, remote wipe, option B, virus, option C, services, and option D, firewall. And the correct option is option D, firewall. So a firewall monitors and controls network traffic going to and from a device. It can alert the user when an application tries to access the internet, allowing them to block or permit connection. This, this helps identify application transmitting data in the background. Incorrect option remote wipe erases data on a lost or stolen device. Antivirus detects and removes malware but does not alert for normal application network activity. And services manages system services but not network communication alerts. Therefore, to get alerts when an application tries to communicate with the internet, use a firewall. Question number 66. Which of the following types of malware will cause a user's machine to run slower than usual and cause high GPU usage? The options are option A, Trojan horse, option B, spyware, option C, crypto miner, and option D, ransomware. So the key point here is usual extremely high usage of the GPU. And GPU are basically used to mine the cryptocurrency. So the correct option is crypto miner. So a crypto miner or cryptojacker is malware that secretly uses a victim's CPU or GPU power to mine cryptocurrency. This causes the computer to run slower, overheat, and show unusually high GPU or CPU. Trojan horse basically is a malware that disguises itself as legitimate software but does not necessarily cause high CPU usage. Spyware monitors user activity but usually runs quietly without heavy resource use. And ransomware encrypts data and demands payment but does not continue to use system resources. So therefore, crypto miner malware is one that makes a system slow down and shows very high GPU. Question number 67. One of your clients still runs on Windows 32-bit operating systems. They plan on upgrading to Windows 64-bit operating systems. Which of the following they be able to take fully advantage of after the upgrade? And the options are option A CPU, option B RAM, option C HDD, and option D SSD. And the correct option is, so if you upgrade your Windows from 32 to 64 bit, you can take advantage of RAM, because I think 32-bit operating system has the limitation of using certain amount of RAM, maybe 4 GB or 8 GB. You will see information. So X64-bit operating system can address and use much more RAM than a 32-bit system, while a 32-bit operating system is typically limited to around 4 GB of usable memory. A 64-bit OS can use 100 of gigabyte or more depending on the addition of the Windows. So other option CPU. So the CPU must already support 64-bit to install the OS, but the upgrade itself does not increase performance. The hard disk drive and solid state drive HDD SSD storage drives work the same on both the 32-bit 4-bit systems. Therefore, upgrading to a 64-bit operating system allows the system to take full advantage of larger amounts of RAM. Question number 68. One of the junior technicians is about to change on a client's computer motherboard. You remind them that they need to remember to take proper precaution when changing to. Which of the following should you remind them to do? Choose two options. And the options are option A, making use of an ESD trap, ESD electrostatic discharge strap. Option B, making sure the vents are unobstructed. Option C, making use of rubber mats. And option D, placing PSU and static bag, where PSU is power supply unit. And the correct option is, so while tackling the hardware, you should make sure to make use of anti-static discharge strap. You should wear it, and also you should make use of the rubber mats. It is because when handling sensitive computer components like a CPU, it's critical to prevent electrostatic discharge, that is ESD, which can damage the hardware. So ESD strap grounds the technician and prevents static electricity from discharging components. Rubber mats provide an anti-static surface to work on, further reducing ESD risk. Incorrect option, option B, vents unobstructed, is important for airflow but unrelated to CPU installation safety. And option D, placing the power supply unit in an anti-static bag, it is not relevant during CPU replacement. Therefore, this technician use an ESD strap and rubber mats to safely place the CPU. Question number 69. One of your clients has a Mac PC that is giving issues. After troubleshooting, you decide that using recovery software would be the best course of action. So which of the following should you use? And the options are option A, system restore, option B, time machine, option C, file vault, and option B, BitLocker. And the correct option is option B, time machine. The time machine in macOS built-in time machine is macOS built-in backup and recovery tool. It allows users to restore files, applications, and system settings from previous backups, which is ideal when recovering a Mac that is having it. Other option, system restore, is Windows feature not available on macOS. File vault is macOS disk tool and not for recovery. And BitLocker is Windows disk encryption feature not available on Mac OS. So therefore, the correct tool to use for recovery on a Mac OS is time. Question number 70. A network engineer needs to update a network firewall which will cause a temporary outage. The network engineer submits a change request form to perform the required maintenance. If the firewall update fails, which of the following is the next step? The options are option A, perform a risk analysis, option B, execute a backout plan, option C, request a change approval, and option D, acquire end user acceptance. And the correct option is, we are talking about change management process. In change management, if change does not go as per plan and it fails, you should always have a backout plan. So if the change failed, you should execute a backout plan. So in the change management process, if a change such as firewall update fails, the next step is execute backout plan, a predefined procedure to restore the system to its previous stable state and minimize downtime or disruption. Incorrect options such as perform a risk analysis, it is done before implementing change. Requesting a change approval, it also occurs before the change is made. And acquiring end user acceptance happens after a successful change. So therefore, if the firewall update fails, the next step is backout plan. So that's all for this video. Please like, share the video. And if you want to take the full CompTIA A Plus Core 1 or Core 2 course, they are available on my channel. I will also upload two question videos on my channel soon. So please subscribe and stay tuned.